For the March 21st, 2023 committee minutes. If there's no objection, I'll accept the motion to accept them. Josh, second by Jeff. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the minutes are stand approved. We have a presentation, discussion items on rail trails master plan.
Brian's gonna do that.
I was wondering if you-
He had
TBD's our best player.
Okay.
Brian got these shortest book.
Yeah. He was the lucky one. Yeah.
I just when I wrote the RFP, realized about So this is just a discussion about the RFP for a rail trail master plan. Everyone should have a copy.
Does not make you go forward.
Can you just, that's one. So this is the scope of the RFP. And as you can see, if you want to look on the actual document on page 3, just talks a little bit more in depth of what it's looking for. You have your project overview management there is just to facilitate the steering committee and track the progress in the budget. The task 2 that we're looking for is to do an overview of the existing conditions of the trails. Task 3 would be public participation, attend stakeholder meetings, and also would be require the winning bidder to attend at least one meeting in each town, or of each town's monthly board meeting. That's in the designated trail corridor. Just to get input. And then task 4, you're looking at like inventory and analysis of the trails, county staff, planning, and recreation and trails would be the main departments for this. Task 5, we're asking for trail design considerations and route recommendations to the best. So long-range rail trail master plan to identify future trail corridors, alignments throughout the county. Develop any cross sections for widths and surface materials, bridges. And then also they would develop a 30% engineering design package and a phase 1 environmental assessment. That's the major part of that task. Task 6 is the big one that would kind of provide a cost estimate for the total implementation of the master plan, including engineering, professional services, construction, and material cost. And also would break down per mile, so you could see, if you only want to do some or all, what your cost is. And then the task 7 would be just to present a final report to the board. And we also included, depending on how the price is going to come back on this master plan, 2 alternates to have a branding and marketing strategy. The one company that planning talked to, the branding is a big thing about any rail trail they've ever done. So we would just see has that as a separate alternative, and also alternative number 2 would be an economic impact study. Just to show, depending on price, how it would impact the local economy, locally and regionally. The next page, slide would be just the time frame we're looking. We would send this out on the 28th of April. It'd come back and we don't have the public bid opening on June 8th. And if we wanted to vote to accept the proposals at the board meeting in July, and then they would expect the completion of the master plan about 12 months after acceptance you're looking at. And that master plan would just be the foundation of the whole rail trail to kind of, give you an idea. And then you could go for grant money. With Cassie's out there, there's a lot of grants out there, but this would be the document you'd want to take to that to get grants for the rail trail.
Yep. So our team, Cassie and Brian and Jackie and Joan and some other folks that worked on this RFP, what they did is research and look at master plans from other rail trail projects.
2 examples here too.
Brian's brought a couple examples, but they looked at several examples in New York State, upstate New York, and the Northeast of kind of the foundational document. So the goal is you've got this plan, and like we've been saying from the beginning, this is something that's going to take several years to develop over time. And so this will give us a blueprint for kind of how to move forward. There's a lot of, you notice there's a lot in here about community engagement, making sure that there's ample opportunity for each community to be heard. And so that's the goal, is that we've got a document that then, regardless of, like Ian said earlier today, these long-range projects, we don't always have the same folks in these seats or the administration seats or department head seats, but we've got something over the next 15 years that can guide our efforts to bring this to reality. So, and it's important to have these planning documents in order to get grant funding as well.
And there's no commitment this time. We're just sending the RFP out for proposals from consultant and engineer firms to do this. And then obviously it depends on whether they come back, is whether we move forward or not. But that's the idea. That's my job as purchasing director, is just to procure it the best way. So that's why we're going to RFP.
Did you say, I didn't quite understand when you said, I think you said have 10 meetings, public meetings? Did you say that? or just
Attend, a board meeting in each town's that's in the rail corridor. And then they'd have 2 meetings with stakeholder groups. And we could change that too if you want. If you want to attend more or less, we could change it. That's just the rough idea we got from looking at other rail trails out there.
It's at the top of page 4, public participation. Organize and attend at least 2 stakeholder meetings to gain feedback from key stakeholder groups. Attend at least 1 meeting of each town's monthly board meeting that is in the designated rail corridor. Attend at least 1 public hearing at the Board of Legislators meeting to obtain general feedback from board and community, and meet with adjacent property owners to collect and address development concerns.
Another question was, when they do the study of the existing conditions,
Yep.
are they gonna recommend best use, or are we asking for something in particular?
No, it would just be to see if there's any concerns structurally with anything like that, or environmentally, just different changes to see. So we kind of leaving it open. Obviously, we don't know everything that's out there, so we want them to do an analysis of the total rail corridor.
I think the master plan, my vision
Should
would
address all that.
My vision would be that it would include best use as well. So we're getting feedback from the public, feedback from the board. These guys need to function as an extension of our staff. They're not just a third party out doing their own thing. They're an extension of the board's authority. And the goal is that they do point out that, okay, this 500-yard stretch here is best suited because of the culverts and, what other restrictions may be. It's best suited for this type of use, or this section's best suited.
You can see like the example you have in front of you there, like they do a good job. The examples we found of breaking it down, showing, doing the whole, the ground up look at everything before you do anything, just to give you that approach.
Right. Full disclosure, I know I don't look like it, but I'm a walker.
Yeah.
Not a rider. And I like to walk because it's peaceful.
Right.
And it's not necessarily peaceful because I live right on Route 3, but when I look.
And the big thing was like the width of the trails and stuff. They have
So-
some pictures of the trails about the widths for multi-use for bikers and walkers.
When, I think I'm saying it'd be nice to have a walking trail, period, or maybe walking and bicycle,
Right.
but not motorized. And probably in some cases, that would be the best use.
I think so, yeah, and that's what they're gonna do. Whatever firm you go to, they're gonna show you all that, break it down.
There's 31 miles, right? So I think it's quite possible that we can accommodate a lot of different recreational visions.
That would be the hope.
Across that 31 miles. What we're hoping to get out of this master plan document and the partnership with the consultant with whom we hired would be to help us suss that out and figure out, really based on the asset itself, based on community input, based on the vision of the board, and based on budget, what each section is best suited for.
And actually, in conjunction with our existing trade, motorized, maybe there would be better places for motorized than
Others.
walking
Right.
to hook in
For
together.
instance, in the village, we won't have motorized. It will only be walking and and maybe bicycle because they passed a local law that doesn't allow snowmobiles and ATVs and
But there's places where that would be appropriate.
absolutely, yeah.
And that would-
Especially if it butts up to one of our trails.
That's what I'm getting
Yeah.
at, and that would be identified in this study.
Right.
And there's a lot of,
How it would connect with our existing trails.
Mhm.
there's some big companies out there that do this, and then also local Albertine Courier did a 7-mile stretch up in Orleans, Lafargeville area. So there's, I think we're gonna see a lot of interest back, so obviously it's better for us. The more that come back, the better price and proposal will get.
And you anticipate this would take a year?
That's what they think after, talking to Cassie and the planning department, they expect about a year from after everything's signed to get it back, the final copy, you're looking at like 12 months.
Do you have, any-
I think certain tasks in here are gonna be done sooner.
It could be, right, but to have,
Phase one is gonna be done sooner.
right, the full
Yeah.
document, she said expected to be
Yeah.
12 months, from the total.
do you have any
milestones?
indication how much this cost?
Not really,
And
it's
I'm
all,
not,
right, no, there's
being
all different, I know
critical,
one of them, I think one of those in front of you showed, there was a price, I believe, of like $200,000, something like that. But it all depends, and that's why we put the alternates in there too, so we can kind of control what the costs are too. So we don't want to take, it's not we're not overpaying for something we don't really need. That's what the price is.
well, it's an important thing to do.
Right.
And
You gotta
I'm
start
just
somewhere.
curious
yeah.
on the cost.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Mobile, sorry.
I said,
Like-
one, did I?
Yeah, you don't know until you get out there. Like I said, it's just for doing the RFP, so things come back way higher than you expected. We don't have to act, we can readjust it and do it over again too. There's no commitment at this point.
Well, this is obviously a project that has, a lot of community interest, one way or another. I think it behooves us to set out to create a plan that, keeps us on task over the years. And it's a very important part of this, that we do have public participation and that, everybody has an opportunity to talk about, their vision for what this project will be.
Any questions?
Any questions or anything for Brian on this at this point?
So this is the RFP.
Draft pretty much, yeah, there's just a couple of tweaks
We
we
have
got
to
added,
tweak a few things in here, but,
just on the legality, the bonds and stuff.
Well, it's certainly complete, it's 17 pages.
and there will be many attachments.
There'll be more, yeah, we're actually gonna add the seeker and all the, list of all the deeded
The
properties.
parcels and.
That way they have all the information, more information you can give them, the better proposal we're gonna get back.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this? Thank you very much, Brian. Okay, I guess we're ready for resolution.
Okay, the first one is authorizing agreement with Development Authority of the North Country for professional consultant and project management services in potential redevelopment of or demolition of the former Lions Hall schools for the Phase 1 scope of services outlined for a total cost not to exceed $8,000.
Any questions or comments?
So is this just to have them look at this, to tell us what they think is best?
No, it's project management, start to finish, rather than, the Development Authority has helped communities across the country with these types of redevelopment projects. They've got engineering expertise, environmental expertise. It's for their time spent with us through this process. So a little bit of hand holding, but we would have likely had to hire an engineer or some outside firm without them, so.
And they will look at it, Jeff, too. They're going to do an inspection. Because we've had some environmental assessments done on this building already, but it's they were done in 2019. So they're gonna go in and take a look and see if they recommend that any other kinds of analysis be done or any structural analysis be done.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
We did the same thing with the Lions, with the mill project and also with Turin.
Oh, yeah, I'm all in.
The next draft resolution is urging approval of home rule request and to adopt New York State Senate Bill number S6346 and Assembly Bill number to be determined, which will allow Lewis County to continue to impose an additional 1% sales and compensating use tax until November 30th, 2025.
Why is this, why we,
So last month, we passed a resolution requesting the state extend our 1% sales tax. Counties already have authority to collect 3% sales tax. We have to request to the state authority to do the 4%, the final percent every 3 years. There was a proposal that was in the governor's budget to eliminate the county's need to request that every 3 years. But at this point, I don't know if it's in the final draft of the budget or not. So if it's not, then we need to make sure that this other bill giving us authority passes, which is why Senator Walczyk and Senator Blankenbush are putting forward legislation.
And they reduced it to 2 years, not 3 years.
So just a little, insight into why this is not automatic. Most county governments, there's 5 counties that are New York City, but they're governed by the city. The rest of the counties are upstate. And so it makes our upstate politicians beholden to the downstate folks to pass these bills, which are extremely important to their membership. It's extremely important to their counties. So there's a reason why, even though the government proposed it, it might not end up in the final budget because it's politics. But for us, they do usually pass. Oswego did theirs last year, Jefferson did theirs a couple years ago. You just gotta keep going back and asking.
And this is not an increase, it's just what we've been doing.
Correct.
Right.
Any further comments or questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing grant application to United States Department of Transportation for costs of purchasing and installing electric vehicle charging stations throughout the county.
Questions or comments? All in favor, aye.
Is this gonna grant cover all the costs? 100%.
Cassie's not here, she could be able to talk more about it, but my understanding is it's 100%.
Anything else? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
So Jeff is no.
Authorizing NVRC Catalyst grant application for broadband infrastructure expansions by DANK in order to advance broadband services to households and businesses for Lewis County projects up to $1 million in grant funding, with up to $250,000 as the Lewis County local cost commitment, shared cost commitment, sorry.
This is a resolution that we just got. Any questions or comments on it? All in favor, aye. Opposed? Carried.
I'll have Cassie come prepared at the full board meeting to explain more about the DOT electric vehicle charging.
Larry, what's the latest on the wind projects in the Article 10 or whatever that was?
I don't really know anymore. It's still ramped up in the budget discussion. There hasn't been any news headlines that I've seen about.
No indications of of the existing staying the way they are?
Nothing from our attorneys and holding or anything.
Joan and I had a nice conversation with the team at NISAC, I guess it was 2 Fridays ago. They're aware of the situation, and the governor's office is aware of the situation. I'm feeling a lot more confident at this point. It's probably gonna get passed, but I think that the governor's office and the folks at Albany are aware of the issues that it could cause, and will either put in a grandfather clause or some other thing to protect us, because it's not just us, there's a handful of communities that have these existing pilots, and, you know, the state has a goal of advancing and making it easier for folks to do clean energy development in New York State. That's what they're trying to accomplish. Reducing the assessment of existing projects doesn't add any new energy, it just takes away from host communities. They recognize that. I just don't think they were, shockingly enough, thinking it all the way through. So
Like they normally do.
I think I'm feeling like we're gonna be all right on this issue.
You're on record.
I mean, I can't predict what's gonna happen in Albany, but they're listening, and, you know, we've gotten through to folks in the governor's office that are
Right.
paying attention.
Yeah.
And understand what we're talking about, which, seems like a difficult
They
task for a
said
while.
they'll try to do some kind of carve out for the existing.
Thanks.
But we need to continue to fight for that, and we can't fall asleep at the wheel. We have to make sure we're paying attention.
All right, moving along, we got a little discussion on intern possibilities for the county.
Yes, so you heard a little bit from Ryan about the DA's office and her request for an intern. We've had some other requests for interns that don't necessarily go through the Careers Here program or some other program. And for my office, for instance, a couple of people who are in college, who are thinking about going to law school, they're just looking to get some kind of exposure to the county attorney's office. I have the money in my budget, because paralegal position hasn't been filled, so Ryan and Eric and Caitlin and I were talking about it, that there are a number of departments that find themselves in this position sometimes in the spring. And we were thinking we'd like to bring forward to the board, if not at this meeting, at the next one, a resolution to allow departments to hire interns as long as it's brought through the county manager's office and they have the funding in their budget, and can demonstrate that to Ryan, so that we can help some of these students from the area who want to come back, get some exposure. They should get paid something. And we'd like the board to think about authorizing us to do that without having to come to the board to create every position every time we have an intern.
We can't always budget for interns,
Yeah.
because like sometimes you'll have a college kid that'll reach out as part of a program, reach out to probation we've had in the past, or
Yep.
a different department. And, you know, we didn't put anything in the budget for it, but usually we've got enough cushion in our budgets that they can absorb somebody at $15 an hour for, you know, the summer or something, so. You know, we usually, actually, I think we've done quite well with interns, young people participating during the summer, or winter breaks, in our county government. I think it's great. But like for Leanne and some of the longer term ones, we traditionally have had the board pass a resolution. So I don't know if you guys are open to just kind of letting us, you know.
And in
Have a
my
little
mind, I
discretion.
would view it as we can track that, any of them that come, they have to come before, you know, Ryan to get that approval. We could get that information at our pre-agenda meeting, provide another list to the board of any interns that get approved by you, what the estimate timeframe is, because we should have contracts with them anyway, some kind of an agreement with them. And truthfully, the treasurer's office needs that in order to add them to the payroll. So we would want to have some kind of list created for the board so that you know if and when any of these interns get approved, and we can give them to you like we do on the monthly contracts, up to 25,000. That's the thought, so give it some thought. We'll put something together in a resolution, and if anybody has any other input, you can get in touch with me and we'll try to.
It's not a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
we would typically just bring a resolution to create that intern position, but.
Yeah.
I don't know, that seems like a.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea that, you know, the interns, it gives them a chance to get involved in the business field. I've had interns work for me before, and it was great for them and for the company.
Yeah.
If we can offer a simple way of doing it, like you say, you know, a follow-up, this is who, why, what, where.
Yeah, because we want to track it anyway to see how we're doing with any of that. So,
Well, as long as there's money in the budget, little cushion in that department,
Right,
I think it's, like we said, great opportunity to get Lewis County, if we get Lewis County kids back to Lewis County, have some interest in our area. And sometimes it gets really good help. I've had the same experience as Tom, people working for me that were interns. It turned out very well.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of work and very energetic and motivated the people that have been there.
I would add from a budget perspective to, I mean, Jeff's comment and the examples we talked about in the district attorney's office, they're down one staff person from what was budgeted this year. They will definitely have extra personnel funds available. The law office is down at least one person from what was budgeted this year. So it kind of becomes the department manager's responsibility to determine if they've got funds available, and if they, you know, if it makes sense to use them for an intern. If they don't have funds available, that's a different question.
right.
Yep.
Then, of course, I think we have to go through.
Right. Okay.
Cassie's here, I want to ask her about. Cassie's here, I want to ask her about the DOT charging stations.
Don't have to on my account.
Well, I want to know if I'm
I'm
right or
curious
not. I shot from the hip on that 100%, but I think it's right. The DOT charging stations, Cassie, can you explain more about that?
The US DOT grant?
Yeah.
So US DOT has opened up a funding round for counties to apply for EV charging stations or alternative fuel programs. So instead of us going and trying to create the infrastructure piece by piece, like 20 charging stations at a time, this is an opportunity for the county to do a larger, bigger project countywide. So the lowest, I think, is 500,000 and the highest is 50 million. So the threshold is, the minimum that we can apply for is 500, the maximum is 50 million. And right now we're looking to partner with GM. They have a program that they would like to work with us through EV Connect, who is a Sourcewell contractor, federal, that supplies about 10 charging stations per GM location in Lewis County. So we have one, we have the dealership for Union Lowville, but also they're looking to give us the 10 that are right outside of Lowville, or right outside of Lewis County. So they're looking at giving us 20 charging stations, which may hit that 20% match requirement. So we're looking to collaborate on that with GM. What was is there another specific?
Jeff asked if it
Was there a local
if it was
cost?
100%.
Yeah,
No, it's not 100%, it's a federal grant, so it would be 20% in kind, but that in kind of looking to have covered by the GM partnership.
So not cash, just that.
All right, thank you. Anything else for this committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Jeff, Josh, second. All in favor, aye? We stand adjourned.
Oh, yeah.